Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. How dare you? How dare you call that salad? Taking protein and mixing it with mayonnaise, that's not salad. Mayonnaise is fat. I'm not saying mayo doesn't have its uses, but egg salad? Chicken salad? Who do you think you're fooling? Even if you take that and you put it on a salad, it's not healthy. It's not a salad. How dare you? Who do you think you're fooling? How dare you? Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I am your host, the Madman. We're starting a little bit early today, and I'm going to explain why in a little while. But I want to remind you that I have a Patreon here, and patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron. I'd appreciate that very much. You can follow me on social media at @TheKnowledgeSaw, which is the word wasteland spelled backwards. On Twitter, Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, and at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. I would appreciate it. Also, I got books available for digital download. Search for the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's on Amazon.com, or you can follow the links down in the description below. Also, feel free to share and watch my videos here on YouTube or on BitChute, and because I would appreciate that. I'm leaning more towards the video aspect. I know it's not very exciting looking at me talking, but that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. So, but I mean, it's interesting because I get comments like last week I got a comment on one of my videos where I'm talking to EK, who's off camera, who runs everything. It's like, who are you talking to? And so my first response is, I'm talking to the internet, moron. And then I was like, oh, I must have. There was a time where I was talking at EK, and so they were like, who the hell is off camera? Why can't I see that guy? It's like, because EK is the behind the scenes genius of FXBG Public Radio. So if you're interested in the kind of genius that FXBG Public Radio is capable of making of, like all the glory that is my show, you should look into FXBG Public Radio, but check that out. But here's the thing about BitChute is that BitChute doesn't have the kind of censorship in the comments that YouTube has. And so in many ways, I get more views on BitChute than I do on YouTube. And that's clearly an algorithm thing, because on BitChute, when you upload a new video, a video will pop up on the same tier of the starting screen of BitChute as, even Crowder and, Tim Pool, everyone, so I'll get more views. And so I'll get more downvotes and stuff like that, but I also get more interesting comments, and so because, they don't censor comments the way YouTube does. And so I'm sure you may remember I did a video of the Joseph and the Coat of Many Colors, where I talked about Joseph's hideous coat and stuff like that. And, I got a few views on that on YouTube, but I got a bunch more views on BitChute of that thing and a couple downvotes. And I got this one comment, and it was hilarious to me because you don't get to see this kind of weird, absurd racism on the internet that much anymore. And I just found it so beautifully racist and intriguing. But I was talking about the Joseph and the Coat of Many Colors. And then there's this guy who commented and said something to the effect of, it's just like the Hebrews to keep appropriating other people's culture. And that's how it starts out. And I was like, okay, pardon? The Hebrews are appropriating someone else's culture. Let me read more. And he goes on to say, Joseph's coat of many colors was Scottish tartan plaid, and so there was a Scottish guy who was thrown to the sold to the Egyptians, and so the whole family was actually a bunch of Scottish people. And so I stopped reading about that point, right? Because I was like, okay, so let me get this straight. All right, Scotland, back around negative 1,000 Common Era or whatever like that. They were already traveling around the world. They're all over the Middle East, bringing their kilts and their haggis to everybody, and everyone's like, "Oh, kilts and haggis are all awesome." And the Hebrews are like, "We got to take that culture." They play golf. It's just weird because it makes absolutely no sense. And so what happened with the whole Rome thing? Did you guys invent Scotch whiskey, and then it was all Scottish culture can do to keep from collapsing the growing Roman Empire and eventually the English Empire. Is that what you mean? I'm not trying to be insulting, but let's be honest here. All right. I don't think Scottish people got around that much. All right. But it's cool because, you can go to BitChute and you can still get these wildly crazy comments from time to time that just make me giggle. And I think that we should have that kind of stuff because we need to know who those lunatics are. We need to know their screen names. You know what I mean? Anyway. All right. So, yeah, Ben Shapiro looks like he's growing a beard. I haven't watched his show. Have you watched it lately, EK? See, I'm talking off camera again. He doesn't want to be on camera. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, but like Monday he comes in, he's all scruffy and stuff like that. And I was like, did he not shave? What about IHateHarrys.com? What about Jeremy's Razors? And then the second day comes on still unshaven. Is like, oh, I think he's going for a beard. But unfortunately, his facial hair probably grows about the same rate as mine does. So it may take a while for him to grow a beard. But I'm still like, yeah, go for it, Ben. Grow a beard. You need to stop looking like a 12-year-old. Yeah. I mean, I love you. I respect you. I think you're a really intelligent guy, even if you are wrong sometimes. And so it's, but you got that boyish face, and especially with the voice, it'll help you. It'll add a little machismo in your life. Trust me, because you guys seen me without shaved. It's awful. Some people shouldn't go around without hair on their face. That's all I'm saying. All right, I got one more thing to tell you before we get into the rest of the show, and that is why we are starting early today. My sister's on vacation, so I'm watching her dog for her while she's dog. It's half dog, half squirrel. She's on vacation, so I'm watching her dog for her. It's half squirrel. Okay, it's like this big. Her name's Shelly, and her brain, her head's so small, her brain's only got to be like maybe 1.5 times the size of a squirrel. So she's part dog, part squirrel, and I'm going to prove it. All right. A couple days ago, I went and I picked up a pizza, my favorite pizza place. I came home and I sat down and I flipped open the pizza lid, and I'm sitting there. I take a slice of pizza. I'm start eating my favorite pizza. And of course, the dog's right there staring at me. He's like, "Where's my pizza? You got pizza? Why I can't have pizza?" Because you know how dogs are. If you're eating pizza, they deserve some pizza too, don't they? But I'm like, no, you're just a dog. You eat rabbit turd shaped kibble. I eat pizza because I made the money to buy the pizza. And so I finished my slice of pizza, and not being a heartless, that heartless, gave the pizza crust to the dog. The dog takes it from me, then drops it, sniffs it a little bit, and then looks up at me as I'm grabbing another slice of pizza because I'm a big fat pig. I'm going to keep eating pizza. And so the dog kind of sniffs the pizza crust for a second, then picks it up and goes into the other room, into the living room. And I'm like, I've never seen this dog do that. She's never been shy about eating in front of people. I had a dog that was shy about eating in front of people, but this dog, I've never seen her do that. So I'm like, okay, I take a couple bites of my pizza, and it's like maybe she's gone to eat it in private, and it's like I don't know. I don't know what she's up to. So I go and I put my slice of pizza down, and I go into the living room, see what the dog is up to. And the dog's on the couch, like digging away. And I come and I look over behind the dog, and the dog's got the pizza crust shoved way into the crack of the sofa, like she's, burrowing it, like hiding a nut. Half squirrel, this dog. And I'm like, what are you doing? So I push the dog out of the way, and I reach into the couch cushions and pull out this pizza crust that the dog was stashing for later, and I threw it away. It's like, no, you don't get any pizza crust. If you're going to hide it someplace in my house, I'm going to stick my hand down there 3 weeks from now and find. No. Nothing but rabbit turd shaped kibble for you. Anyway. So I wanted to start early today because I got to go home and I got to go take the dog outside, squeeze all the pee and poo out of it before I got to go do something else this afternoon. Okay. I'm a very busy guy. I'm not literally going to squeeze the dog. I'm going to take the dog out. We'll let her sniff around and pee and then poo. Make sure she gets some water. Make sure she gets something to eat because I got to take off for a few more hours before she's going to come back before he can come back and hang out. And she'll, why aren't you petting me more? Why don't you sit on the couch? Dogs don't get this about me. It's like, how come you never sit on a couch? Dogs are always looking at me because I've watched 2 dogs recently over because vacation season and stuff like that. And both of these dogs looking at me, it's like, you're always in an office chair. You're always in front of that laptop. Why don't you come and sit and cuddle with me on the couch? Come and sit and cuddle with me on the couch like a normal person. And I think this is why I'm single, because if I ever got into an argument with my wife is like, she's like, I'm going to bed. Like, okay. I'll be in there eventually. No, when I'm saying I'm going to bed, that means we go to bed. Well, we're having sex. That's what you mean, right? It's like, no, we are going to bed. Then I don't see why I have to go in there right now. You know, that's probably why I'm single. Anyway, so I got to go deal with the dog before I got to go handle some more business later. So started early today. We'll be back at our usual time next week. So I served in the Navy, and I never really had a problem with seasickness. Never got any kind of seasickness, motion sickness. And I remember when Doom first came out, and people were complaining back then. There were people who would play Doom, and they would get like motion sickness. People would like be playing Doom for a little while, just barf. You know what I'm saying? And it was an interesting phenomenon that happened when like this 3D gaming technology came out, because excuse me, what happened was that there was a mismatch in a person's brain. They think they're running around with a shotgun through this crazy Martian world, but their brain is static, and the brain's like, it doesn't. Whoa, brace yourself, and you're like, and your body's just all panicky after that. But it's different, like when you're actually feeling the motion, then it's like really severe. So if you're on a ship out on the ocean, like in the Navy, you know, and you're bobbing around the waves like this and stuff like that, it can affect some people. And it's really not that many when you think about it. It's maybe like 10 to 20%. I mean, that's just a guesstimate of people who get like really motion sick, you know. And so it's funny because, you know, I was in the Navy. I worked in computers in the Navy during a time when Quake II was really big. And so, of course, we go on a deployment. And so I bring all my CD-ROMs with me, including things like, you know, Quake II and the original Warcraft, you know, Warcraft 2 and yeah. And so a bunch of those old you know, late 90s, you know, early aughts video games. And so we go out to sea, and, you know, you get mid-watches, nothing going on. It's like, hey, let's all create a Diablo 2 server and start running some dungeons, you know, and that's what we do sometimes. And so, but we'd also be at sea. And so I'd say, hey guys, let's play some Quake 2. The next thing you know, you got one of your guys, everyone in your, you know, in your watch is playing Quake 2, but one guy is like, I gotta go outside. He just drops out of the game and he leaves and just goes outside. It's like, just goes get some fresh air for a while because he thinks he's gonna puke, because it's a whole different thing when you're on a ship, you know, bobbing through the water, and you're playing Quake. So you're running around with this shotgun, but your real motion detection in your head is like, this isn't right. What we're looking at is not right. Reality's off kilter. That's what your brain's doing. Something is wrong. Very wrong. Something is very wrong. And so you need to go get air. But here's the thing, is like, I never experienced that kind of motion sickness. There's only 2 times in my life I ever experienced motion sickness. And once it was a long drive I had to make for my grandfather's funeral, and I was just in a car for like, it was like, I don't know, like 14 hours straight. And I puked all over my the floor mat of my uncle's truck. I don't think he's ever forgiven me. But he's like, because he's holding my head when I was puking, and going, on the mat. So I must have got somewhere other than the mat. So because the mat was rubber. Anyway, and the other time was when I was in the Navy, and I was working way up in the forecastle, and like what's that, deck negative one? I forget what it's, I forget. And so way up in the forecastle, running some fiber optic cable. And at the very front of the ship, that's where the swings are really the highest and the lowest, you know what I'm saying? And so we're running cable, and it's all overhead work. And because we're like looking up, and the motion was just, it felt like we were going to tip over every single second. It's like we're running cable with one hand and holding on to the bulkhead, which means wall, with the other, in case you don't know. In the Navy, you have to learn this whole new vocabulary. It's crazy. So, I mean, that was the only times I ever felt motion sickness. And so, I mean, it got to a point where I was beating people because I didn't get motion sick. You know, some guy would just have to look away for a second. I get the drop on him, kill him. You know? And people started, I was also like really good at all the games, and everyone wanted to beat me. Brag. So, I mean, it's people would always say, is like, if you want to beat him, play something that doesn't get you motion sick. Like, what was it? We were playing StarCraft. You're playing a lot of StarCraft. Everyone's like, your best chance is to play him in StarCraft because he plays the Zerg. They never won. All right, let's talk about this next thing. I'm gonna drink some of my healthy water, my vegan water. Hey, vegans. Do you know how many vegans are in Africa? The biggest and the baddest. Okay? The biggest and the baddest. So I just did a cursory search in a popular search engine you might have heard of. Just guess one. Alta Vista, correct. In my Netscape Navigator, I went to altavista.com. And it just typed in three words: herbivores in Africa. And what the highlighted words that come up are zebra, terrifying creatures; giraffe, huge, terrifying creatures; hippopotamus, huge, terrifying creatures; rhinoceros, huge, terrifying creatures; and African elephant, huge, terrifying creatures. All of them are vegan.
How is an elephant vegan?
They're vegan, bro.
And that gigantic.
Have you seen how much vegetation is in Africa? There's not much. There's big, empty spots of desert that they've probably eaten to get to this point. You know what I'm saying? Those things are herbivores. And they're some of the most monstrous and dangerous creatures on God's green earth. All right? And so that's why so these creatures, these herbivore creatures, elephants and giraffes, all they do is walk around, even like gorillas and monkeys. But they sometimes eat meat, which is like usually each other. And so let's be honest, all right, Shock Monkey Radio. I'll tell you the truth about monkeys. But, you know, they're mostly herbivores, but they're walking around Africa all day eating vegetation, chewing vegetation, digesting vegetation, because they need to keep consuming like all day long in order to get the nutrition they need at their size. You know what I mean? So that's the problem when it comes to, let's make the whole world vegan. It's like, hey man, no more flowers, you know, no more corn, you know, we're liquefying corn to get it down to its base. That's what corn syrup is for. Sorry, dumb joke. Anyway, but my point is that, you know, if a continent is dominated with herbivores, and I know people are not, you know, elephants and rhinoceroses. I don't know the plural. People aren't like that. I know. But what I'm saying is that if you have, you know, that many creatures on a continent that are herbivores that eat that much, look how much vegetation is around Africa. You know, all these creatures compete for that vegetation. And so it's kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts to think that we can make the whole world, you know, switch away from meat. We're going to save every single animal. Well, let me tell you something. If you save every single animal, there's going to be more and more dangerous animals out there because we're not eating enough of them. All right? I know you may not think that, you know, like deer, you know, it's a cute deer. It's like Bambi, you know, but if their population gets too big, they're destroying cars left and right. They're causing freeway, you know, accidents and stuff like that. Because they start to get everywhere. That's why we have hunting season. We got to cull the population of some of this stuff. We have to do that, or else we'll be overwhelmed by them. Okay? And here's another thing. All right? If you are in Africa and you're a vegan, all right? If you're like Angelina Jolie or something like that, you're out there taking pictures of the poor, you know, because you think that makes you worldly. and an elephant starts charging you, and you're a vegan, what are you going to do? You better hope there's a meat eater somewhere around with a gun with lots of ammo, a big gun with lots of ammo. All right. And throw a little Second Amendment thing in there as well. All right. Because what is a vegan going to do against the vegan elephant? Vegan human versus vegan elephant? Take that elephant. Oh, I'm so tired. Why is it so cold in Africa? Because I mean, that's where we are supposed to be omnivorous. All right. Because the only reason we have been able to take down things as mighty as elephants and hippopotamuses, is because we eat meat, because we can get that protein surge to kill our prey, like lions. Lions eat meat. Lions eat meat, and they sit around most of the day. They don't have to go to tree to tree to tree, ruining everything in vegetation. No, all that protein's all packed already, and the gazelle you just ran down, that zebra you and your pride just took down. You come wandering in there as a mighty lion. It's like, nice work, ladies. Don't mind if I do. And you help yourself. Go feed the kids. It's better to eat meat. That's what I'm saying. All right. Hey, remember America Online? Remember there's all these jokes for a while, like how many like America Online promo discs people had, because you'd buy anything, anything. It was like, 1 pack of cigarettes, please. Like, hey, here's a pack of cigarettes and your free America Online disc. And it's like, what? All right, I guess. I didn't ask for this. Or they just show up in your mailbox one day. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I think it happened during the summer because they must have used like Santa's elves or something like that. It was like, you guys got a couple weeks of work. You can do a small contracting job, get every single person on earth 2 or 3 of these America Online trial discs, because they had a hell of a scam. Connection to the internet. All right. That's what you got from America Online when it first started. And it was something like, it was like $9.95 per month. And you got 5 free hours. 5 free hours connected to the internet. Which ought to be enough for anybody, right, Bill Gates? But no, we don't. There's a lot of people today who don't really understand that. They don't really understand because we have constant connections to the internet these days. Also, we have far more information on the internet than AOL did back in the original days. In the original days of America Online, if you spent 5 hours on America Online, you've seen it all. All right. Anything after that is just like chat rooms. And that's it. Maybe Usenet. All right. So here's the thing about back then. It's like there really wasn't a whole lot of content on the internet, apart from Usenet. We'll talk about Usenet soon. And so, there was the more cutting edge news agencies. They had websites at this point. And so they, AOL provided links to those things. And they had other like interesting, like, lifestyle type websites that, that were popping up. More tech savvy companies were getting into the website game long before companies like McDonald's and so forth started getting into the big corporate players started getting involved on the internet. And so there really wasn't a whole lot of content. There was no Wikipedia. The research that you had was like you had like a Microsoft Encarta CD or something that came with your computer, it wasn't like extensive. You get the basics of most everything because they're trying to fit it all on one disc, or a couple discs. And so America Online, I mean, it was crazy what we paid back then for like per hour, and there really wasn't a whole lot of internet to look around. And the best way I experienced the internet was once I started realizing how to use other like socket applications and so forth, where I could use other so I can find things like Usenet. And I thought Usenet was, once I found that, I was like, oh, awesome. Now I get the internet, because internet was all those, where everybody got their porn back then. It was like alt.binaries.demimore, .movie stills, it's, and then there was like also conversational groups like alt.band.music.queen, I'd go to like groups like that and just talk about Queen and Freddie Mercury, like talk about, hey, and the lyrics of this song and stuff like that. Talk with other nerds who like Queen. And there's a niche for everybody on Usenet, and I thought that's okay. Now I get the internet, but back then, per hour, you're in a chat room, and back then I'd get involved in these groups that were like who kept like played games. Like I played a game called TIE Fighter. A lot. I really love that game. I like being an Imperial pilot. I like shooting down X-Wings and screw you, Luke. Catch Han Solo, kind of things. I like it. And so I get involved in this group on AOL and chat rooms and stuff like that, talking about it. And I also downloaded like a file editor, a computer-aided design file editor, so I could create missions for TIE Fighter. And I shared it with these people, and they made me like this general in their group. And then the group had an argument about me, about how like I provide so much more than everybody else. Like this guy should be in charge. And they put me in charge. And so I was running this group and making these missions for everybody to play, keep telling them how to install it in their game. So 5 hours that can get eaten up pretty quickly back then, especially when you consider like how little it costs to be online these days. Because I mean, AOL really had a racket back then. And like the more internet companies, and this is like kind of the beautiful part about free enterprise, is that things like Net Zero came into being. All these other companies were charging about the same price, like $10 a month, flat rate, but you can be constantly connected to the internet at all times. And then AOL just eventually got rid of it, got rid of the hours thing. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. I think that was probably one of the last things the free enterprise did caused the market to correct, because it was expensive to be online at first. I mean, I'm not even talking about CompuServe, you know what I'm saying? Anyway. All right. I want to get into one more thing before we get into the news. And it's about, dealing with anger. And it's about how I deal with anger, because I don't know about you. I get angry sometimes. Do you? You get angry sometimes? Yeah, me too. First of all, I want to preface this by saying I'm not exactly good at controlling my anger. And so I'm not saying this is what I'm about to tell you is how the best way that you can deal with anger. It's just I want you to understand, it's like this is how I deal with anger, and maybe someone else can get something out of this. So I just want to express that. I'm not very good at it, but this is what I try to do when I start getting angry. First of all, I want to say it's like, I can get heated about a lot of things. I can get mad. I can get heated about like chicken salad or, hot sauce, how much hot sauce you use, or, any ridiculous thing, and the printing press, penicillin, horses, who knows what could set me off. But it's not real anger. It's like I get worked up in the heat of a moment, but it's not real anger. What really makes me angry is injustice that happens around me. All right. That I know that I can affect. All right. If an injustice happens in, Cleveland, Ohio, it's like, well, that's unfortunate. I wasn't there to stop it. But I mean, it doesn't, and it may get me angry or something like that. If you read a news story and you feel like there's an injustice in the world, and you're like, yeah, I'm kind of mad, but I'm not furious because I wasn't there to affect it. And so if I see an injustice happening in front of me and I don't do anything about it, I feel like, I'll kick myself for years over something like that, And so that's what really makes me mad. And so when the anger starts swelling up in me, it's usually because I saw some sort of injustice. I feel like I have to say something. I feel I need to shout it. I feel like I need to assert myself physically in order to correct this thing. And then when those feelings starts coming up in me, when the anger starts coming up in me, I have to stop and think for a second. It's like, okay, what is happening to me is physiological. This is my second point. You have to understand that what is happening to you is physiological. When you get angry, your adrenal glands just start going, ooh, and it's like meth. You just, woo, your body gets all speeded out. Your heart rate starts pumping. Your muscles get tight and stronger. You know, your pupils dilate. You know, you start taking in everything. And the unfortunate thing is your vision also kind of closes in. You got to kind of get tunnel vision when you're angry. And so you have to understand that what is happening to you is a physiological effect, you know, and so you need to start dealing with that now, because for not necessarily what has brought you to this point. All right, because acting on your intense roided up situation, you know, with adrenaline squirting through your bloodstream, you know, you have to understand is like, okay, there's something physiologically happening to me. It's best not to do anything rash right now. Okay, and so I have to say that to myself, like literally in my head, because, you know, I got tunnel vision. I'm focusing too much on this incident. I'm not really thinking about much of anything else. I'm fantasizing about what I need to do in order to correct the injustice that I just saw or something like that. I need to stop and say a lot of this, you know, I have tunnel vision right now. There's a physiological thing going on with me. I got the adrenaline, my body's in fight or flight mode. And, you know, maybe I'm wrong about this. And that's my next point. It's like, you have to think, maybe I was wrong about what I saw or about what I understand. Maybe I misunderstood what's going on. Maybe I don't have all the information about what's happening. So maybe it's best to hold off, not react, find a way to address it, and, you know, when you've cooled off, because you probably misunderstand. Actually, absolutely that's possible, because you got tunnel vision right now. Maybe you're missing something. So that's my next point. All right. My next point is that it's better to be silent and thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. So if I see some quote unquote injustice happening in front of me, and I go, "Hey, you can't do that," and I kick the crap out of somebody in front of their wife and everybody, you know, in front of the entire staff of Hardee's, I could kick their ass right there, and then. Yeah. Oh, he's blind, or you find out, you know, you're misinformed, or he didn't even say it. It came from somebody else. You know? And while you're kicking that dude's ass, that Hardee's employee got fired. You know, but you missed all that because you're angry with your tunnel vision. So you beat the crap out of this blind guy. All right. All right. Better just to hold your, you know, keep your ammo in the clip for a little while longer. See it, you know, did I see that right? Did I hear that right? So it's kind of a good idea to just wait and, you know, maybe ask questions. Did he say what I thought he said? You know? So it's just best not to lose your cool, you know? And it's something my dad said to me. I was telling him about all these things I'm frustrated with and so forth. He said, you know, be the brighter light. And I think that's why you have to take this into account. You know, it's when you lose your temper, it sort of invalidates you no matter what. And so it's, even if you feel it's just, you know, Jesus lost his temper. Jesus lost his temper in the temple. He overturned the tables and the money changers and so forth. And you can read the Bible on your own. I'm sure you can find that story. He made it like a whip. He got a couple cords together and made a whip.
Could you say that sometimes Jesus will become quite cross?
Jesus was quite cross, EK says. This is why he doesn't get a mic. Those of you wondering why, you know, who are you talking to off the camera? It doesn't matter, really. So, but Jesus lost his temper. All right. And it's still talked about today. It's like, was Jesus right? Was Jesus wrong by trying to get the money changers out of the temple? Still debated to this day, because Jesus did something that wasn't Christ-like. It's so, I think that it is better to hold your stay your violent hand until you get all the information in. And especially if you realize that there's something happening to you. You know, it's like, okay, I'm getting angry, I'm out of control, and no matter if I act with that anger, it's gonna like invalidate me. It's like, oh, you made the first move, you threw the first punch, and so forth. Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. It matters that, you know, you started something. You started an argument. You started, you know, in a physical altercation, God forbid. So it's always better to hold off. Don't react with your anger. Don't become like Anakin Skywalker, basically, because that's the whole metaphor of, don't give in to your anger. And my final point of all this with dealing with anger is screaming. Scream sometimes. If that stuff starts bottling up in you, if it starts like weighing on you, if you need to make a separate trip by yourself, get in your car by yourself, get on the road, get on the highway, roll up all your windows, and scream till it hurts your throat and your ears. Hopefully you don't get pulled over doing that, or if you have a ceremonial screaming pillow at home, you take the ceremonial screaming pillow, put it to your face, and just scream. That helps relieve a lot of the pressure, I find. Anyway, I also suggest learning how to play the drums. When I first started playing drums, that helped a lot with my anger. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the news worth knowing. All right, first off, I want to tell you, stay safe from the storms. Boy, it's hurricane season and typhoon season. So those of you out there who are dealing with these storms coming through Puerto Rico, like the southern United States, southeastern United States, and even Japan, 'tis the season. Stay safe. Watch out for each other. And help come on the way. And I think that's what's interesting about humanity generally is like a natural disaster. People will pull together in most societies to help save people. It's something in common. It's like war is one thing, but like if like natural disasters, people put aside their differences and do what's right to help people. It's kind of interesting. I think we should, focus on that aspect of ourselves more than anything. Let's go to this first story from the Washington Post. Madman, the Washington Post? Don't say it's not so. It is so. And I'll tell you why, because Fox News didn't have this story. I couldn't find the story on Fox News. So it is the Washington Post, so take it with a grain of salt. But even with Fox News, you should take it with a grain of salt. Anyone, take it with a grain of salt. There's no such thing as somebody who's unbiased. Here's a headline. Pentagon opens sweeping review of clandestine psychological operations. The Pentagon has ordered a sweeping audit of how it conducts clandestine information warfare after major social media companies identified and took offline fake accounts suspended of being run by the U.S. military in violation of the platform's rules. Colin Kahl, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, last week instructed the military commands that engage in psychological operations online to provide a full accounting of their activities by next month after the White House and some federal agencies expressed mounting concerns over the Defense Department's attempted manipulation of audiences overseas, according to several Defense and administration officials familiar with the matter. The takedowns in recent years by Twitter and Facebook are of more than 150 bogus personas and media sites created in the United States was disclosed last month by internet researchers, Graphica, and the Stanford Internet Observatory. While the researchers did not attribute the sham accounts to the U.S. military, two officials familiar with the matter said the U.S. Central Command is among those whose activities are facing scrutiny. Like others interviewed for this report, they spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the sensitive military operations. The researchers did not specify when the takedowns occurred, but those familiar with the matter said that they were within the past 2 or 3 years. Some were recent, they said. They involved posts from the summer that advanced anti-Russian narratives, citing the Kremlin's, quote, imperialist war in Ukraine, and warning of the conflict's direct impact on Central Asian countries. Significantly, they found that the pretend personas employing tactics used by countries such as Russia and China did not gain much traction, and that overt accounts actually attracted more followers. I'm sorry. CENTCOM, which is headquartered in Tampa, MacDill Air Force Base, has purview over military operations across 21 countries in the Middle East, North Africa, and Central and South Asia. Spokesman declined to comment. Air Force Brigadier General Patrick Ryder, the Pentagon press secretary, said in a statement that the military's information operations support our national security priorities and must be conducted in compliance with relevant laws and policies. We are committed to enforcing those safeguards, he said. Spokespersons for Facebook and Twitter declined to comment. According to the researchers' report, The accounts had taken down included a made-up Persian language media site that shared content reposted from the U.S.-funded Voice of America Farsi and Radio Free Europe. Another, it says, was linked to a Twitter handle that in the past had claimed to operate on behalf of CENTCOM. One fake account posted an inflammatory tweet claiming that relatives of deceased Afghan refugees had reported bodies being returned from Iran with missing organs, according to the report. Jeez Louise. Tweet linked in the video was part of the article posted by the U.S. military-affiliated website. CENTCOM has not commented, and they're not going to, on whether these accounts were created by its personnel or contractors. I'm going to take a moment. If you work for the Washington Post and can you see if you can get CENTCOM on the line to answer some questions? It's like, you go take a long lunch. They're not going to give you a statement. Okay. Anyway, it goes on to say, if the organ harvesting tweet is shown to be CENTCOM's, one defense official said it would be absolutely a violation of doctrine and training practices. Independent of the report, the Washington Post has learned that in 2020, Facebook disabled fictitious personas created by CENTCOM to counter disinformation spread by China, suggesting the coronavirus responsible for COVID-19 was created at a U.S. Army lab in Fort Detrick, Maryland, according to officials familiar with that matter. Now I wonder if it was created in the lab in Fort Detrick, Maryland. Anyway, the pseudo profiles active in Facebook groups that conversed in Arabic, Farsi, Urdu, the official said, were used to amplify truthful information from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention about the virus's origination in China. U.S. government's use of our stats social media accounts, though authorized by law and policy, has stirred controversy inside the Biden administration, with the White House pressing the Pentagon to clarify justice and justify its policies. The White House, agencies such as the State Department, and even some officials within the Defense Department have been concerned that the policies are too broad, allowing leeway for tactics that even if used to spread truthful information, risk eroding U.S. credibility. Thank you, several U.S. officials said. Our adversaries are absolutely operating in the information domain, said senior defense official. There are some who think we shouldn't do anything clandestine in that space. Ceding an entire domain to an adversary would be unwise, but we need stronger policy guardrails. Huh. I don't need to read any more of this article. That's a good point. But my concern is that, were they doing stuff with our social media within the United States? The U.S. military? Were they doing clandestine operations? Were they trying to, I don't know, sway elections? So I think this is a big story, and I think that we need to know more. I'm surprised that it was hard for me to find this story. And so it's got me worried. It's got me worried. What have they been up to? And why are they using the internet to do it? And could this be why my YouTube channel is not popular? Is it just me that sucks, or it could be they don't want some rebellious minded ex-Navy guy on the internet and saying too much, as it were. I don't know what I'm saying that's troublesome, but anyway, curiouser and curiouser. All right, let's go to this next story about Putin. I think Putin's dying. Putin warns the West threat to resort to nuclear weapons is not a bluff. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned Western countries that his country's nuclear threats are not a bluff on Wednesday. Putin issued the warning after accusing Western countries of resorting to, quote, nuclear blackmail, despite no NATO countries threatening the use of nuclear weapons. It's like he's like a Democrat. He's like, I'm gonna nuclear blackmail you by saying you're nuclear blackmailing me. Anyway, the threat comes as Russia's prospects in Ukraine are grim, with Putin's military losing thousands of square miles of territory to a Ukrainian counteroffensive. Good for them. Quote, this is a quote, "To those who allow themselves such statements regarding Russia, I want to remind you that our country also has various means of destruction for separate components and that are more modern than the use of NATO countries." And when the territorial integrity of our country is threatened, to protect Russia and our people, we'll certainly use all the means at our disposal, Putin said Wednesday in an address. And it's not a bluff, he added. Ukraine's counteroffensive pushed Putin towards drastic measures, with Russia announcing a partial military mobilization late Tuesday. The policy will see the Russian military conscripting reservist civilians. Fear of wider mobilization has reportedly caused mass exodus of young men fleeing Russia since the announcement, because they know they're going to be conscripted to a war they don't want to fight. Anyway. Flights from Russia to countries that do not require visas were completely booked Wednesday, according to the Telegraph. Oh, damn. Putin argues conscription is necessary to protect our homeland, its sovereignty, and territorial integrity to ensure the security of our people and the people in liberated territories. Putin's threats come less than a day before President Biden is scheduled to address the United Nations General Assembly. White House says Biden will condemn Putin's naked aggression and make the case that Russia has violated UN's core tenets. He'll offer firm rebuke of Russia's unjust war in Ukraine, and could make a call to the world to continue to stand against naked aggression that we've seen these past couple of months. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said Tuesday. He will underscore the importance of strengthening the United Nations and reaffirm core tenets of its charter at a time where the permanent member of Security Council has struck the very heart of the charter by challenging the principle of territorial integrity and sovereignty, he added. Yeah, so if you watch the video, like, Putin seems out of breath. He doesn't look good. He looks sickly. And I don't know. I think he's dying. I think he wants one last hurrah. I don't think he's going to get it. And I just hope he doesn't start fiddling any dials or anything like that before he goes out. You know. And Joe Biden, like, what would he do against Putin? Not intimidating to anybody. Anyway, so I guess we got World War III to look forward to. Sorry, I'm trying not to be as caustic as Tim Pool, everybody. Civil War, Civil War, Civil War, Civil War. Drink, 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 drink. If you drink every time Tim Pool says Civil War, you wouldn't be alive. There's no way you can make it through like one Timcast IRL without drinking anytime somebody says Civil War. All right, so let's talk about the border for a second. The Border Patrol agents nabbed a dozen people on terror watch list at southern border in August. Border Patrol stopped a dozen individuals whose names were on the FBI's terror screening database in August, bringing the total for the fiscal year to a number that is triple the previous 5 fiscal years combined, as agents deal with a historic migrant surge at the border. New data released by Customs and Border Protection this week show that there were 12 individuals encountered by Border Patrol between the ports of entry at the border whose names matched on the TSDB, terrorist screening database, which contains information about the identities of those who are known or reasonably suspected of being involved in terrorist activities. August's apprehensions bring the total of for fiscal year 22 to 78 so far. So 78 in this year so far. And 2 months still to go in the fiscal year. That's triple the prior 5 years combined. There were 2 arrests in fiscal year 17, 6 in 18, 0 in 19, 0. Wow. 3 in 20, fiscal year 20, and 15 in fiscal year 21. Fiscal year. You know, when the accountants are trying to take over the calendar, we got a problem. All right. Year begins and ends when Julius Caesar said it did, man. Okay? All right? That's when the year it begins and ends. All right? Okay, while that is just a small percentage of the hundreds of thousands of migrants who hit the border each month, it shows that those who have been successfully caught by Border Patrol agents. It also does not include those who have been among over the 500,000 gotaways, illegal immigrants who slipped past Border Patrol agents this fiscal year. Republicans have pointed to the numbers to show the potential national security threat at the border and the need for greater border security. Republicans on the House Homeland Security Committee had pushed for the numbers to again be made public before the Biden administration eventually started putting them on the CBP website in May. Meanwhile, there have been there have so far been 342 encounters of known or suspected terrorists by CBP agents at ports of entry along the north and southern borders. Of those, 63 were at the southern border and 279 were at the northern border. That's the highest number since fiscal year 19, when there are 538 such encounters. Latest numbers come as CBP announced that there's 598 migrant encounters at the southern border in August overall, an increase from the 199,976 encountered in July and lower than the 209,840 encountered in August last year. Damn nerds and your numbers. Of the 203,598, officials said 157,921 were unique migrant encounters, with the rest attributed to those who had multiple encounters with officials who have been expelled or deported. I don't want to read any more numbers. So, the issue is that when you have an open border like this, it's like not only are illegal immigrants a problem, which they are, they're a drain on our systems, you're also allowing in a bunch of people who want bad things to happen to this country and the people who live in this country. And that's us and even these illegal immigrants. All right? We need better border security. Absolutely. Because our enemies go sneak into China. Best of luck to you. Holy cow. Sneak it to America? No problem. Sneak it to China? You'd be lucky to just get caned. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. All right, let's talk about this DeSantis drama that's been going on this past week. So DeSantis' office hits back after class action suit for migrants and reveals the consent form they allegedly signed. All right. The Office of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on Tuesday slammed a class action lawsuit filed by illegal immigrants flown to Martha's Vineyard last week, saying the journey was done on a voluntary basis. The lawsuit, filed in the District of Massachusetts, alleges that DeSantis and others, quote, designed and executed a premeditated, fraudulent, and illegal scheme centered on exploiting this vulnerability for the sole purpose of advancing their own personal, financial, and political interests. Oh, man. In a statement provided to Fox News, Governor DeSantis spokeswoman Taryn Fenske, cool name, Taryn Fenske slammed the class action lawsuit as political theater perpetrated by, quote, opportunistic activists at the expense of the illegal immigrants. That sums it up. If these activists spent even a fraction of this time and effort at the border, perhaps some accountability would be brought to the Biden administration's reckless border policies that entice illegal immigrants to make the dangerous and often lethal journey through Central America and put their lives in the hands of cartels and coyotes, Fenske said. Correct. Fenske provided Fox News with a copy of a consent form available in English and Spanish that she said was given to the migrants before they boarded. The form reads, quote, I agree to hold the benefactor or its designated representatives harmless of all liability arising out of or in any way relating to any injuries or damages that may occur during the agreed transport of locations outside of Texas until the final destination in Massachusetts. The class action lawsuit alleges that migrants were told they're going to Boston or Washington, which is completely false, quote unquote, and were induced with perks such as a $10 McDonald's gift certificate. No, that's not enough for really anything. No human being should be used as a political pawn, said Ivan Espinoza Madrigal, executive director of Lawyers for Civil Rights, which is seeking class action status in the lawsuit filed on behalf of several migrants who were aboard last week's flight to Alenza, Americas, a network of advocacy groups. The lawsuit alleges that migrants were induced to cross state lines under false pretenses, a line that some Democratic officials are using to urge a federal investigation. Fenske said the transport of the migrants was done on a voluntary basis. Quote, the immigrants were homeless, hungry, and abandoned, and these activists didn't care about them. Florida's program gave them a fresh start in a sanitary state, and these individuals opted to take advantage of chartered flights to Massachusetts. She said, it's disappointing that Martha's Vineyard called in Massachusetts National Guard to bust them away from the island within 48 hours. What I love about DeSantis is that It's such a simple, brilliant stroke. Just 50. Was it something like 48 people he sent there? 48 people in all of Martha's Vineyard caused national ruckus for an entire week. You know? And sure, some of those 48 people could have been influenced by some asshole liberal there that says, you guys should file a class action lawsuit, get some money from DeSantis, and then you'll be a magical citizen. Then you'll be a real boy. You know? Then you'll have some money. Because it's all theater. And then there's some sheriff in Texas says he's going to like investigate DeSantis over this incident. It's not your jurisdiction, dickhole. What? Why are you involved in this? Why? You just trying to get your mug on the news? Probably. It was such a simple, brilliant move to send just 48 people to Martha's Vineyard. And it caused a hell of a ruckus. And it showed us, you know, how these liberals react to it. It's like NBC like compared the migrants to trash. Ron DeSantis is like driving down, you know, throwing your trash out the window of your car. Comparing these people to trash. And, you know, all it did was expose them for the tool bags that they are. They're like, oh, our system, our infrastructure can't handle this. Or what about these border towns? You know, they probably took these people, these 48 people from living under an overpass. You know what I'm saying? In these border towns where all these illegal immigrants are coming in, these people are living on the streets. You know? The infrastructure of those towns, because of this surge that's been going on for the last few years, of people just flying into the border, their infrastructures are getting just soaked to the bone. They're just underwater. They send just 48 people to Martha's Vineyard, and it's a big hissy fit. Big hissy fit. You're all about those policies that don't affect you if you're not in a border city, are you? You know, no matter how the people on Martha's Vineyard vote for the border, you know, they're not on the border. Anyway, that's why the Republic matters. That's why the Republic matters. Because the people who live in Martha's Vineyard should not dictate policy for the entire country. And I think that sums it up nicely. All right. 2 more stories and then we're out of here. Strangely, about food that I would never eat. I like to keep it light towards the end, so I'm going to get out of here on a happier note. So a California man breaks world record for the most ghost peppers eaten in 1 minute. It's a red hot record. Fox News. They're not good writers. A man in California was recently recognized for breaking the world record for the most ghost peppers eaten in 1 minute. This guy is truly a madman. Do not do this at home. Gregory Foster was recognized on Monday by Guinness World Records for eating 17 ghost peppers, also known as boot jolokia, in 60 seconds. Foster broke the world record on November 14, 2021 in San Diego, California, according to a press release from Guinness. In total, Foster consumed 3.98 ounces of ghost peppers. You can watch this video. He looks like the kind of guy who would want to eat that many ghost peppers. Anyway, so ghost peppers can register 1 million or more Scoville heat units, SHU, while a jalapeno pepper registers at around 2,500 to 8,000 Scoville units. The press release said. This record attempt is a personal challenge to see how far I can push myself and my love for the super hot peppers, Foster said in a statement. You like them? He continued, as a chili lover, I've been trying to advance the awareness and the excitement around the super hot chilies out there. Foster already has 2 other world records, including the record for the most Carolina Reaper chilies eaten in 1 minute. He is crazy. Or he has no taste buds left. He broke that record in 2017. The fastest time to eat 3 Carolina Reaper chilies he broke in December 2021. The attempt was solely personal endeavor. He doesn't have any. He doesn't have taste buds anymore. Quote, this attempt was solely a personal endeavor to achieve another Guinness World Record alongside my currently standing ones, Foster said of his ghost pepper record. I love chili eating and pushing myself. Okay. It's funny because of the video, he's wearing gloves because you shouldn't touch this stuff. And you know, so if you shouldn't touch it, if you need to wear gloves to touch it, maybe you shouldn't put it in your mouth. Am I the crazy one here? Am I the crazy one here? Probably just, you shouldn't put it in your mouth. Maybe. You know, I like hot things. I get it, but there's no need for 1 million Scoville. You know what I mean? And we got to do something about the Scoville scale anyway, because it's really wonky. Go look at the Scoville scale. It's kind of wonky. We need to fix that.
1 Scoville equals licking a bumper.
Yeah, you know, it's ridiculous. You know, it's ridiculous. Anyway, let's get to the last story and get out of here. All right. Pennsylvania man finds rare purple pearl inside a clam at a Delaware restaurant. Pennsylvania man got a little something extra in his meal while he was on vacation. Scott Overland of Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, was reportedly with his family at Salt Air Restaurant in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where he found a purple pearl inside his order of clams at dinner one night. Ew, he eats clams. Quote, it was at the end of the dish, and I felt something hard and crunchy as I was eating. Oh, it's been in his mouth. Who wants that? Overland, he told Fox 5 DC. Overland said that he looked at the pearl. At first, he thought it was a bead or a piece of candy. This candy's gone bad. It was bright lavender, almost purple, and we had not heard of clams producing purple, so I didn't know this was a possibility, he said. Overland and his family realized that it was a pearl when they looked back at the shell and saw the indentation as something that had been growing. Oh, cool. Oh, yeah. I see the indentation. They got a picture of it. Nice. All this is being reported by Fox 5 DC. We put it in there and it was a perfect fit, Overland told the station. Oh, you came with a carrying case. After a Google search, Overland discovered pearls can cost anywhere from $600 to $1,600, depending upon their size and shape. But what about the color? Fox 5 DC reported. These kinds of pearls, grown in a species of hard saltwater clams native to New England, are exceptionally rare, according to the International Gem Society. Of course, there's one of those. Only about 1 in 5,000 shells of this kind of clam produces a pearl that, and even those that are made are either poor quality or damaged. The IGS wrote on its website. Overland told Fox 5 DC that he plans to get the pearl appraised, but still wants to keep it. Yeah, nobody's going to buy that if it's been in your mouth, bro. He said the family is thrilled with the souvenir. Yeah. He went on vacation, expected to bring back a t-shirt or mug. Our kids got some hermit crabs. We didn't expect to come back with something like this. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a souvenir. It's not a kind of souvenir you expect. It's pretty cool. But if it gets appraised and it's worth some real money, I mean, you should sell it. I mean, people still want to buy it, even though it's been in your mouth. You're disgusting maw. It's just, frankly, I'd rather have a t-shirt. You know, it's purple. It's something in my food. I mean, and you had to eat, you know, a clam to get to that. So I don't understand why people do that anyway. So what do I know? Anyway, this is going to be the end of the show. I want to remind you again to go over to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio, become a patron. You can also follow me on social media at DeNolitsaw. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards on Twitter. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, and at SLRobbins13 on Instagram. You can follow me there. Also, buy my books. You can find me on Amazon.com. Search for the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's. I got the Bunny Years, a memoir. I got the Ravings of a Madman. I got the 3 Exit 13 books. Go check them out or find links down in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe my videos. Like to show all your friends. Like, watch all of my videos. Check me out on BitChute too. Check out some of the crazy comments. I would appreciate that. Yeah, I also have the cash tag Shock Monkey Radio if you want to send me money through Cash App. I appreciate it. So this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.